Section 7 of Lukundoo and Other Stories by Edward Lucas White. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Ben Tucker. The Message on the Slate, Part 1. Mrs. Llewellyn had always held, insofar as she ever thought about the subject at all, that to consult a clairvoyant was not merely an imbecile folly, but a degrading action, nearly akin to crime. Now that she felt herself overmasteringly driven to such an unconscionable unworthiness, she could not bring herself to do it openly. Anything underhand or secretive was utterly alien to her nature. She was a tall woman, notably well-shaped, with unusual dignity of demeanor. The poise of her head would have appeared haughty, but for the winning kindliness of her frequent smile. Her dark hair, dark eyes, and very white skin accorded well with that abiding calm of her bearing, which never seemed mere placidity in a face habitually lighted with interested comprehension. Like a cloudless springtime sunrise over limitless expanses of dewy prairies, she was enveloped in an atmosphere of spacious serenity of soul, and her appearance was entirely in consonance with her character. She was still a very beautiful woman, high-souled as she was beautiful, and exceedingly straightforward. Yet to drive in open day to a house bearing the displayed sign of a spirit medium was more than she could do. Bidding her footman call for her later, much later, at her hairdresser's, she dismissed her carriage at the main entrance of a department store. Leaving it by another entrance, she took a streetcar for the neighborhood she sought. The neighborhood was altogether different from what she had anticipated. The houses, by no means small, were even handsome. Not least handsome, that of the clairvoyant. And it was very well kept, the pavement and steps clean, the plate glass window panes bright, the shades and curtains new and tasteful, the silver doorknobs and doorbell fresh polished. There was a sign indeed, but not the flaming horror her imagination had constructed from memories of signs seen in passing. This was a bit of glass set inside the big bright pane of one of the parlor windows. It bore, in small gold letters, only the name, Salathiel Vargas, and the word clairvoyant. A neat maid opened the door. Yes, Mr. Vargas was in. Would she walk into the waiting room? The untenanted waiting room was a dignified parlor, furnished in the costliest way, but with a restraint as far as possible from ostentation. The rug was Persian, each piece of furniture different in design from any other, yet all harmonizing, while the tin pictures were paintings by well-known artists. Before Mrs. Llewellyn had time for more than one comprehensive and surprised glance about, when she had barely seated herself, the retreating maid struck 2 sharp notes on a silvery gong. Almost immediately the door leading to the rear room was opened. In it appeared a man under 5 feet tall. Not dwarfish, but deformed. His patent leather shoes were boyish, his trousers hung limp about legs, shriveled to mere skeletal stems, and his left knee was bent and fixed at an unchanging angle, so that his step was a painful hobble. Above the waist he was well made, a deep chest, broad square shoulders, a huge head with a vast shock of black curly hair. He had the look of a musician or artist, with a wide forehead, delicately curved eyebrows, nose hooked, sharp and assertive, eyes wide apart, large dark brown, with sparkles of red and green, and a mouth whose curled upper lip was almost too short. The mouth and eyes held Mrs. Llewellyn at first glance, and the instant change in them startled her. He had appeared with a suave mechanical smile, with a look of easy expectancy. As his gaze met hers, his lips set and their redness dulled, his eyes were full of so poignant a dismay that she would not have been surprised had he abruptly retreated and slammed the door between them. Without a word he clung to the knob, staring at her. Then he drew the door to after him, and leaned against it, still holding to the knob with one hand behind his back. When he spoke, it was in a dry whisper. "You here, of all women." "You know me?" she exclaimed. "I have never seen you." "You are seen of many thousands you never note," he replied. "Everyone knows Mrs. David Llewellyn. Everyone knew Constance Palgrave." "You flatter me," she said coldly, with the air of one resenting an unwelcome familiarity. "Flattery is part of my trade," he replied, "but I do not flatter you, so little that I have forgotten my manners. I should have asked you to step into my consulting room. Pray, enter it." She passed him as he held the door open for her. The inner room was not less seemly than the outer. Except for 3 doors and 1 broad window looking out on an area, it was walled with bookcases some 8 feet high, broken only where there were set into them 2 small cabinets, with drawers below. The glass doors of the bookcases were of small panes, and the books within were in exquisite bindings. Topping the cases were several splendid bronze busts. The furniture was completed by a round mahogany center table, several small chairs, and 3 tapestried armchairs. When Mrs. Llewellyn had seated herself in one, the clairvoyant took another. His agitation was so extreme that, had she been capable of fear, it would almost have frightened her. Her curiosity it greatly piqued. He was as pale as a swarthy man can be, his lips bloodless and twitching, dry and moistening themselves one against the other as he mechanically swallowed in his nervousness. She herself was perturbed in soul, but an eye less practiced than his would have discerned no signs of emotion beneath her easy exterior. They faced each other in silence for some breaths. Then he spoke. "For what purpose have you come here?" "To consult you," she answered. "Is it astonishing? Do not all sorts of persons come to consult you?" "All sorts," he replied, "but none such as you. Never any such as you." "I have come, it seems," she said simply, "and to consult you." "In what way do you mean to consult me?" he queried. "People consult me in various ways." "I had in mind," she said, "the answers you give by writing on the inside of a shut slate." "You have come to the wrong man," he said harshly, with an obvious effort that made his voice unnatural. "Go elsewhere." And he rose. She gazed at him in astonishment without moving. "Why do you say that?" she demanded. He opened each of the 3 doors, looked outside, and then made sure that each was latched. He looked out of the window, glancing at each of the other windows visible from it. He hobbled once or twice up and down the room, mopping his forehead and face with his handkerchief. Then he seated himself again. "Mrs. Llewellyn," he said, "I must request your promise of entire and permanent secrecy for what I am about to tell you." "Anyone would suppose," she said, "that you were the client and I the clairvoyant." "Acknowledging that," he replied, "let it pass, I beg of you. I have told you that you have come to the wrong man. I bade you go elsewhere. You ask for an explanation. I have fortified myself to give it to you. But I must have your pledge of silence if you desire an explanation." "I do desire it, and you have my promise." He looked around the room with the movement of a rat in a cage. His eyes met hers, but shifted uneasily, and his shamefaced gaze fell to the floor. His hands clutched each other upon his lame knee. "Madam," he said, "I tell you to go elsewhere because I am a charlatan, an impostor. My trances are mere pretense, the method of my replies a farcical mummery, the answers transparent concoctions from the hints I extract from my dupes." "You say this to try me," she cried. "You are subjecting me to some sort of test." "Madam," he said, "look at me. Am I like a man playing a part? Do I not look in earnest?" She regarded him, convinced. "But," she wondered, "why do you thrust this confession upon me?" "I fear," he hesitated, "that a truthful answer to that question would displease you." "Your behavior," she said, "and your utterances are so unexpected and amazing to me, coming here as I have, that I must request an explanation." Vargas straightened himself in his chair and looked her in the eyes. Not aggressively, but timidly. He spoke in a low voice. "Madam," he said solemnly, "I have told you the truth about myself because you are the one human being whom I am unwilling to harm, wrong, or cheat." "You mean—" She broke off, bridling. "Ah, madam," he cried, "I mean nothing that has in it any tinge of anything that might offend you. What does the North Star know or care how many frail, storm-tossed barks struggle to steer by it. Is it any the less radiant, pure, high, because so many to whom it is and shall remain forever unattainable strive to win from its rays guidance towards havens of safety? A woman such as you cannot guess, much less know, to how many she is the one abiding heavenly beacon. How could you, who need no such help from without, realize what the mere sight of you afar off must mean to natures not blessed with such a heritage of goodness? How many have been strengthened at sight of your face, wherein they could not but see the visible outward expression of that inward peace and serenity that comes from right instincts, unswervingly adhering to noble ideals. You have been to me the incarnate token of the existence of that righteousness to which I might not attain. Mrs. Llewellyn had borne his torrent of verbiage with a look of intolerant toleration, of haughty displeasure curbed by astonishment. When he paused for breath, she said, in a voice half angry, half repressed, "I quite understand you. I have heard enough. I have heard altogether too much of this. We will change the subject, if you please." "I spoke at your command," Vargas apologized, abashed, "and only to convince you of my sincerity in telling you that I am not worthy of being consulted by you." "But," she protested, carried away by her surprise, "you are called the greatest clairvoyant on earth." "And I have schemed, advertised lavishly, spent money like water, bribed reporters, bought editors, cajoled managers, hoodwinked owners, and won over their wives and daughters through laborious years to produce that impression. It is no growth of accident, no spontaneous recognition of self-evident merit." "But," she argued, "are you a fiend doing all this for the delight of deceiving for deception's sake? Are you a man wealthy by inheritance and choosing this form of activity for the pleasure it gives you?" "By no means, madam," he denied. "I live by my wits." "Your surroundings tell me that you live well," she suggested. "Better than my surroundings reveal," he rejoined. "Then your wits are good wits," she ventured. "None better of their kind on earth," he naively admitted, wholly off his guard. "And they are not overtaxed?" she asked. "Deception is not hard," he told her. "The world is full of fools, and even the sensible are easy to deceive." "From what I have read," she continued, "you do not deceive. Your advice is good. Your precepts guide your clients right. Your suggestions lead to success. Your predictions come to pass. Your conjectures are verified." "Oh, that is true enough," he allowed. "Then how can you call your clients dupes, your methods mummeries, your answers lies?" she wound up triumphantly. "I did not call my answers lies," he disclaimed. "Mummeries I deal in, and to dupes. Dupes they are all. They pour gold into my lap to tell them what they already knew if they but reasoned it out calmly with themselves. They babble to me all they need to know and pay me insensately for it when I fling back to them a patchwork of the fragments I have extracted from their stories of expectations, apprehensions, and memories." "But if you do all that, you must be a real judge of human nature, a genuine reader of hearts, a keen-brained counselor." "I am all that and more," he bragged. He had lost every trace of agitation, and bore himself with a dashing self-confidence of manner, extremely engaging. "I cannot minister to a mind diseased, but I am called on to prescribe for all sorts of delusions, follies, blunders, miseries, and griefs. I could count by thousands the men and women I have saved, the lives I have made happy, the difficulties I have annihilated, the aspirations I have guided aright." "Then you must have an immense experience of human frailties and human needs." "Vast, enormous, incalculable," he declared. "Your advice, then, should be valuable." "It is valuable," he boasted. "Then advise me. I am in extreme distress. I have felt that no one could help me. The belief that you might has given me a ray of hope. You have expressed a regard for me altogether extraordinary. Will it not lead you to help me?" "Any advice and help, any service in my power, you may be sure, shall be yours," he said earnestly. "But let me ask you first, how was it that you did not seek the advice of some businessman, lawyer, or clergyman? You are not at all of the light-headed type of those frivolous women who flock to me and to others like me. You have common sense, unalterable principles, rational instincts, and personal fastidiousness. Why did you not go to one of the recognized, established, honored advisors of humanity? Tell me that, if you please."
"It was because of the dream," she faltered.
"The dream?" he exclaimed. "A dream sent you to me? What sort of a dream?"
"I had come to feel that there could be no hope for me," she said. "But about a month ago I had a dream in which I was told the 7th advertisement in the 7th column of the 7th newspaper in the 7th drawer of the linen room will point for you the way to escape from your miseries and win what you desire. There should have been no papers in my linen room, and it made me feel foolish to want to go and look. Also, the servants knew I never went there, so I had to watch until the housekeeper was out, and no maids were on that floor. Sure enough, I found 7 old newspapers in the 7th drawer, and on the 7th page of the lowermost paper on the 7th column, the 7th advertisement was yours."
"And you came to me because of that dream?"
"Yes. And—"
She hesitated. "Well," he interrupted, "the reasons why you came are not so important. What I want to be sure of is this. Even if you were led to come by a mere coincidence, acting on your feelings, are you now, from cool, deliberate reflection, determined to consult me? Would it not be better to take my advice at this point and go to one of the world's regular, accredited dispensers of wisdom?"
"I have made up my mind to consult you," she said. "It is not a passing whim, but a settled resolve."
"Then, madam," he said, his manner wholly changing, "you must tell me all your troubles without any reservation of any kind. If I am to help you, I must know your case as completely as a physician would have to know your symptoms in an illness. Tell me plainly what your trouble is." She began to pluck at her veil with her gloved hands.
"Oh," she gasped, "let me moisten my lips. Just a swallow of water."
For all his lameness, he was surprisingly agile as he wrenched himself up, tore open the rear door, and almost instantly hobbled back with a glass and silver pitcher on a small silver tray. She took off her veil and one glove. Several swallows were required to compose her. When she was calm again, he sat looking at her with a face full of inquiry, but without uttering any questions.
"You do not know," she said, "how hard it is to begin."
"For the 3rd time, madam," he said, "I advise you not to consult me, to go elsewhere."
"Are you not willing to help me?" she asked softly.
"Utterly willing," he said, "but timid. Timid as a doctor would be about prescribing for his own child. Yours is the first case ever brought to me in which I feared the effect of personal bias, dimming my insight or deflecting my judgment. I have a second confession to make to you. Before you married, a man desperately in love with you came to me for help. Among other things, he gave me the day, hour, and minute of your birth, and of his, and asked me to cast both horoscopes and infer his chances of success. I had, and have, no faith in astrology, yet I had cast my own horoscope long before from mere curiosity. When I cast yours, I was amazed at the clear indications of a connection between your fate and mine. I did not believe anything of the Babylonian absurdities, yet the coincidence struck me. Perhaps I am influenced by it yet. Under such an influence, even more than under that of my feeling for yourself, my acumen is likely to be impaired. I again advise you to go elsewhere."
"I am all the more determined to consult you, and you only."
He bowed without any word and waited in silence for her to go on. She stared at him with big melting eyes, her face very pale.
"My husband does not love me," she said.
"Not love you?" Vargas exclaimed, startled. "Do you mean seriously to tell me that you, who have been loved by hundreds, been adored, worshipped, courted by so many, for despair of gaining whom men have gone mad, who have had your choice of so many lovers, are not prized by the man who succeeded in winning you?"
"Yes,"
she barely breathed.
"He does not prize me, nor love me at all."
"Does he love anyone else?" Out of her total paleness, she flushed rose-pink from throat to hair.
"Yes," she admitted.
"Who is she?" Vargas demanded.
"His first wife."
Vargas staggered to his feet. "I did not so much as know that your husband had been married before," he gasped, "let alone that he was divorced."
"He was not divorced," she stated.
"Not divorced?" he quavered.
"No, he was a widower when I married him."
Vargas collapsed back into his chair. I do not understand," he told her. "Does he love a dead woman?"
"Just that,"
she asseverated. "This will not do," the clairvoyant told her. "I cannot come nearer to helping you at this rate. Try to give me the information you think necessary, not by splinters and fragments, but as a whole. Make a connected exposition of the circumstances. Begin at the beginning."
"That is harder," she mused. "I always want to begin anything at the last chapter."
"Woman fashion," he commented. "You are above that in most things, I know. Try a straight story from the beginning." She reflected.
"The beginning," she said, "was before I began to remember. David and I were playmates before we could talk. Boy and girl, lad and lass, we always belonged to each other. There was no love-making between us, I think, for it was all love-living. I do not believe he ever asked me to marry him, or promised to marry me, or so much as talked marriage. But we had a clear understanding that we were to marry as soon as we could, at the earliest possible day. He did not merely seem wrapped up in me. He was. God knows he was all my life. Then he had no more than seen Marion Conway when he fell in love with her. There is no use in dwelling on what I suffered. He married almost at once, and I gave myself up to that empty life of frivolity which made me a reigning beauty and brought me scores of suitors, for none of whom I cared anything, and which gave me not a particle of satisfaction. Then after they had lost both their children, Marion died. David was frightfully overcome by his loss. He had loved her inconceivably, and he showed his grief in the most heart-rending ways. He had the coffin opened over and over after it had been closed. He had it even lifted out of the grave, and opened yet once more for one more look at her face. He spent every moment from her death to her burial in a sort of adoration of her corpse, and he did stranger things. I do not know whether it was Mr. Llewellyn's valet who told, but at any rate the story got out among the servants. The night before she was buried, he had her laid out in her coffin, and a second coffin exactly like it set beside hers. He stayed locked in the room all night. They believed he lay in the other coffin. At any rate, in the morning it was closed, and he did not allow it to be opened. What he had placed in it no one knew. They said it was as heavy as the other. 2 hearses, one behind the other, carried the coffins to the graveyard. Her grave is not under the monument. You have seen the monument?"
"No," he said. "Only a picture of it."
"Well, she is not buried under it, and the second coffin was placed on hers." She stopped.
"Go on."
"Oh," she cried, "it is so hard to go on. But it is true. As soon as David was free, I felt I had an object in life. I followed him. I might almost say pursued him all over the world. And when we met, I courted him, and it seems strange, but I asked him to marry me, and—" She hesitated. "He refused twice."
"He did not want to marry you?" Vargas asked, incredulously.
"He refused. It was at Cairo that first time. He said he could not love anyone any more. All his love, his very self, was buried in Marion's grave. The second time was at Hong Kong. Then he said he always had cared for me and still cared for me, but that affection was as nothing compared to his passion for Marion. That he would never marry, and especially he would not marry me because of his regard for me. That I would not be contented or happy with him, that I was thinking of the lad he had been, and that boy was buried in his wife's grave, that he was nothing more than a walking ghost, a wraith of what he had been, a spirit condemned to wander its allotted time on earth until his hour should come and he be called to join Marion. The third time was in Paris. He said he was indifferent to everything, to anything, to love or hate or death or life, that he cared nothing whether he married me or not. If I cared as much as I seemed to, he would marry me to please me. I told him that what I had always wanted was to be with him, that what I most wanted was to spend with him as much as possible of my time until death parted us. He said if that was what I wanted, I could have it, but he was nothing more than a shadow of his old self, and I was sure to be unhappy. And I am unhappy. He is generosity, gentleness, kindness, and consideration itself, but he does not care. I hoped, of course, that his grief for Marion would soften, fade away, and vanish, that he would cease to mourn for her, that his interest in life would reawaken, that I could win his love, and that we would both be happy. But I am not. His utter indifference to me, to anything, to everything, is preying on my feelings. I must do something. I shall lose my mind.
Is that all? Vargas asked.
It is enough, she asserted. And more than enough. Do you think it is a small matter?
Not in the least, he declared. I comprehend your disappointment in respect to your hopes, your chagrin at your baffled efforts to win him back to his old self, your pain at his inertness. But by your own showing you have no grievance against your husband.
That I have not, she maintained. Not a shadow of a grievance against him. My grievance is for him as much as for myself and against the way the world is made. Vargas looked at her for some little time. You do not say what you are thinking, she interrupted.
I am considering how to express it, he said. However I express it, I am sure to offend you.
Not a bit, she replied. Say it at once.
You must realize that if I am to advise you truly, I must speak plainly. He hesitated.
I do realize it, she told him.
You will then pardon what I have to say, he ventured.
I will pardon anything except beating about the bush, she rapped out.
Well, he said slowly, it seems to me that your coming to me, your state of mind, your trouble, as you have related it, all turns upon a piece of femininity, to which you should be altogether superior, to which I should have imagined you were altogether superior. You look, and I have always imagined you, free from any trace of the eternal feminine. Here it crops out. Men in general find that women in general have no feeling for the mutuality of a contract. Some women may be exceptions, but women habitually ignore the other side of a contract, and see only their side. Here you display the same defect. Mr. Llewellyn practically proposed a contract to you. On his side, he to marry you. On your side, you to put up with his complete indifference to you, to everything, and be content with his actual companionship, such as he is. He has fulfilled and is fulfilling his part of the contract. You seek escape from yours.
I think, she snapped, you are insufferably brutal.
The eternal feminine again, he retorted. Worse and more of it. I told you I should offend you.
You do offend me. I have confidence in you, but I did not come here to be scolded or to be preached at. I do not want criticism. I want advice. Don't tell me my shortcomings, real or imaginary. Think over my troubles and my needs and tell me what to do.
That is plain enough, he asserted. Do your obvious duty. Keep your part of your contract with your husband. Give no sign that you suffer from the absence of feeling of which he warned you. Make the most of your life with him. Hope for a change in him, but do not try to force it. Do not rebel if it does not come.
I know I ought to endure, she wailed, but I cannot. I must do something. I must act. I must.
"You have asked for my advice," he said, "and you have it."
"And what good is it to me?" she objected. "I ask for help, and you strike out platitudinous precepts like a snuffy, detestable, old-fashioned evangelical domini. Is this all the help you can give me?"
"All," said Vargas humbly. "If I knew of any other, it should be at your service."
"You could consult your slate for me, as I proposed," she suggested.
"Great heavens above!" he cried. "I've told you that all that is imposture."
"It might turn out genuine for once," she persisted. "Don't people have real trances? Don't many people believe in the answers from slates and planchettes and Ouija boards?"
"Perhaps they do," Vargas admitted. "But I never had a real trance, never saw one, never knew of one, and to my knowledge no slate or other such device ever gave any answer or wrote anything unless I or some other shuffler made it write or answer."
"But could you not try just once for my sake?" she implored.
"Why on earth," he demanded, "are you, so sane and sensible in appearance, so set on this mummery?"
"Because of the other dream," she faltered.
"The other dream?" he exclaimed. "You had another dream?"
"Yes," she said. "I was going to tell you, but you interrupted me. The dream about the advertisement did not convince me. I felt it might be a coincidence after all. That was more than a month ago, and I disregarded it. But night before last I dreamed I was told the message on the slate will be true. I fought against it all day yesterday, all last night. Today I gave up and came. I want you to consult your slate for me."
"Madam," he said, "this is dreadful. Can nothing make you see the truth? There is not anything supernatural about this trade of mine. It is as simple as a Punch and Judy show. There the puppets do nothing save as the showman controls them. So of my slate and of my trances."
"But it might surprise you," she persisted. "It might come true once. Won't you try for me?"
"I know," he mused, "that there is such a thing as auto-hypnotism. To humor you, I might try to put myself into a genuine trance. But there would be nothing about it to help you, just a mere natural sleep artificially induced. If I babble in it, the words would have no significance, and no writing would appear on the slate unless I put it there."
"Just try," she pleaded, "for my sake, to quiet me. If there is nothing, then I shall believe you."
"There will be nothing on the slate," he maintained. "But suppose I should mumble some fragments of words. You might take those accidental vocables for a revelation. They might become an obsession upon you. They might warp your judgment and do you great harm. I feel we should be running a foolish risk. Give up this idea of the trance and the slate, I beg of you."
"And I beg of you to try it. You said you would do anything for me. That is what I want, and nothing else."
He shook his head, his expression crestfallen, baffled, puzzled, even alarmed. "If you insist," he faltered.
"I do insist," she said.
"You wish," he inquired, "to proceed exactly as I usually do with my simulated trance and pretended spirit replies?"
"Precisely," she affirmed.
He opened a drawer below one of the cabinets and took out a hinged double slate. It was made like a child's school slate, but the rims, instead of being wood, were of silver, the edges beaded, and the flat of each rim chased in a pattern of pentacles, swastikas, and pentagrams. A pentacle, a right-hand swastika, a pentagram, a left-hand swastika, and so on all around. In the drawer was a box of fresh slate pencils. This he held out to her, and told her to choose one. At his bidding, she broke off a short fragment and put it between the two leaves of the slate, the four faces of which were entirely blank. "Settle yourself in your chair," he instructed her. "Hold the slate in your lap. Hold it fast with both hands. First, take off your other glove." As she did this, he settled himself into the armchair opposite her, took a silver paper knife from the table, and held it upright, gazing at its point. "You are not to move or speak until I tell you," he directed her. So they sat, she holding in her lap the slate, shut fast upon the pencil within, her fingers enforcing its closure.
He gazed intently at the point of the scimitar-shaped paper knife. She became aware of the slow, pompous tick of a tall clock in the hallway, of faint noises, as of activity in a pantry, proceeding from somewhere in the rear of the house and barely audible through the closed window. She had expected to see him stiffen, his eyes roll up, or some such manifestation appear. Nothing of the kind happened. For a long time, a very long time, she watched him staring fixedly at the sharp end of the paper cutter. Then she saw it waver, saw his eyes close and his head, propped against the back of the armchair, move ever so little sideways as the neck muscles relaxed. His hands opened, the knife dropped on his knee, and he was to all appearances peacefully asleep. Presently his even, regular breathing was a sound more apparent than the tick of the clock outside. All of a sudden Mrs. Llewellyn felt herself ridiculous. Here she was, holding a childish toy, facing a strange man with whom she was entirely alone and who was apparently enjoying a needed snooze. She had an impulse to laugh and was on the point of rising, disembarrassing herself of her burden and leaving the house. At that instant she felt a movement between the fast-shut slates. They lay level upon her lap, firmly set. She had not jarred or tilted them, yet she felt the pencil move, felt it move and heard it, too. Her mood of impatient self-contempt and irritated derision was instantly obliterated under a wave of terrified awe. She controlled a spasm of panic, an impulse to let go her hold upon her frightful charge, to scream, to run away. Rigid, trembling, breathing quick, her heart hammering her ribs, she sat, her fingers gripping the slates, listening for another movement. It came. Faintly at first. She felt and heard it, then more distinctly. Slowly, very slowly, with intervals of silence, the bit of pencil crawled, tapped, and scratched about. While listening to it, and still more while listening for it, she was under so terrific a tension that she felt, if nothing happened to relieve her, she must faint or shriek. When she continued listening for a long, an interminable, an unbearable time, and heard nothing but the clock in the hall and Vargas's breathing in the room, she felt she was about to do both. Then the clairvoyant uttered a choked sound, the incipience of that feeble wailing groan or groaning wail of a sleeper in a nightmare. His feet moved, his undeformed leg stiffened, his hands clenched, his head rolled from side to side. He writhed. The effort expended at each successive groan was more and more excessive, each sound feebler and more pitiful. Then Mrs. Llewellyn did scream. Instantly Vargas struggled into a sitting posture, his face contorted, his eyes bulging, staring at her. "Did I speak? Did I speak?" he gasped. Mrs. Llewellyn was past articulation, but she shook her head. "I passed into a real trance, he babbled. She could only cling to the slate and gaze. "I had a frightful dream," Vargas panted. "I dreamed there was a message on the plate. It frightened me, but what it was has escaped me." "There is a message on the slate," she managed to utter. "I heard the pencil writing." Vargas, holding to the back of his chair, assisted himself to his feet. From her fingers, mechanically clenched on it, he gently disengaged the slate and put it on the table. Opening one of the cabinets, he took out a decanter and 2 glasses. Half filling one, he placed it in her numb grasp. "Drink that," he dictated, draining the other full glass as he spoke. Half dazed, she obeyed him. Her face flushed angrily and the glass broke as she set it down. "You have given me brandy!" she cried in indignation. "You needed it," he asserted. "It will steady you, but you will not feel it. Compose yourself and we will look at the slate." She stood up beside him and he laid the slate open. There was a writing on each leaf of it, on one side legible, on the other reversed. "Oh," she said, and sat down heavily. He brought a small chair, set it beside hers, and seated himself upon it, the slates open in his hands before them both. Fine-lined, legible, plainly made by the point of the pencil, was the writing on one leaf of the slates. On the other, reversed writing, with coarse strokes, plainly made by the splintered end which was worn slightly at one place.
All the writing was in the same individual script. "This is not my handwriting," said Vargas.
"It is my husband's," she gasped.
The words on the slate were, "That which is buried in that coffin is alive. If disinterred, it will die." Vargas opened the other cabinet. The inside of its door was a mirror. Before this he held the slates. On the other leaf, the broad-stroked script showed the same words.
"What does it mean?" she pleaded. "Oh, what does it mean?"
"It doesn't mean anything," said Vargas roughly.
"How can that be?" she moaned. "It must mean something. It does mean something. I feel it does."
"That is just the point," he said. "That is what I feared before and warned you of. Here are some chance words. They mean nothing, except that you or I or both of us have been intensely strung up with emotion. But if you cannot see that, or be made to see that, you are lost. If you feel that they mean something, then they do mean that something to you. That is your danger. Do not yield to it."
"Do you mean to tell me, to try to convince me that those words, twice written in the same handwriting, in my husband's hand of all hands, formed upon those slates while I held them myself, came there by accident?"
"Not by accident," he argued. "By some operation of unguessed forces set in motion, by your excitement or mine or both. But blind forces, meaningless as the voices in dreams."
"Am I to believe meaningless?" she demanded. "The voices in my dreams that sent me to that advertisement and to you and told me to expect an answer from the slates, a true answer?"
"Madam," he reasoned, "the series of coincidences is startling, but it is nothing but a series of coincidences. Try to rise superior to it."
"And you won't help me," she wailed. "You won't tell me what this message means."
"I've told you my belief as to how it originated," he said. "I've told you that I do not attach any other significance to it."
"Oh," she groaned, "I must go home."
"Your carriage is at the door," he said.
"My carriage?" she exclaimed. "How did it get there?"
"Not your own carriage," he explained, "but one for you. I telephoned for it."
"You have not left me an instant," she asserted incredulously.
"When I brought you a glass of water, I told the maid to telephone for a carriage and tell it to wait. It will be there."
"I thank you," she said. "And now, what do I owe you? What is your fee?"
Vargas flushed all over his face and neck, a deep brownish red. "Mrs. Llewellyn," he said with great dignity, "I take pay from my dupes for my fripperies of deception. But no money, not all the money on earth, could pay me to do what I have done for you today. No sum could induce me to go through it again for anyone else. For you I would do anything, but what I have done was not done for payment, nor will anything I may do be done except for you, for whom I would do any service in my power."
"I ask your pardon," she said. "Where is the carriage? I shall faint if I stay here."
End of Section 7, The Message on the Slate, Part 1.